Hey y'all, this is Stacy with the Craft Room Diaries. Welcome to my craft room. Today we're going to be creating some mask fun. I figured if I needed to go to the grocery store or go pick up essential items or even non-essential items for that matter, that we just as soon have something fun to wear while we're out and about. So we're going to be creating this today. I'll show you step by step how to do it. So let's get started.
I started out by selecting a simple mask pattern from Cricut's design space. I chose this one. It's the small adult face mask. I kind of like the way that one was made. So then the next step I did was I went ahead and cut out the patterns. So there's going to be an interior piece and an exterior piece with the patterns. So we can go ahead and we'll cut that out. So I cut out the two pattern pieces for the mask using the Explore Air. The Explore Air requires, in doing something like this, a pattern, anytime it requires right, you do need a marker. Of course, the Cricut markers work perfectly, but I've also found that I use these. I picked these up, I think, at Tuesday morning. It's the American Craft, fits very well. And also Amy's Tangerine, pretty much any marker that fits in the little slot that has a narrow tip should work. If it's a really broad tip, you're going to get a really broad line on it. Next, I used the patterns to cut out the fabric. I used a yellow exterior because I thought that would really pop against the red smile. And then I used a white fabric for the interior liner that we're going to be stitching together. So next I went back to Design Space and found this smile that I thought would look really cute with really pop with the red and the white. So I kind of sized it up a little bit. I think I ended up at about 3.5 inches. So from here, we're going to go ahead and separate the three different layers of it because I really only want the red smile and the white teeth. We're going to be cutting those out of heat transfer vinyl and ironing that onto the mask. I know I've seen a lot of things about the vinyl being hot, but I'm not planning on wearing this for long periods of time anyway. So I deleted the black, and now I want to isolate just the teeth because I really don't want, I mean, of course, if it's going to be, it would be hotter with multiple layers of vinyl. So I want to use the slice feature. Now, the first time I played with this, it sliced really strange. You'll see when I slice. So what I did was I duplicated just the red and used that as a slice in order to slice just so I have just the cutouts of the teeth. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and slice it. You can see here how it ends up. You can see some of the red. That's what I did when I first did it with just the, and there's a little bit of those lines left over. We're just going to slice those away as well. If you're not familiar with the slice feature, you can use any shape. And if you overlay it and hold down shift, so here I chose a square just to get rid of that little leftover line because it would have just cut out the vinyl. I wouldn't have used it anyway, but it would have just made the image bigger. So I'm going to size it up a little bit and tilt it to where I can just cover up and slice away that little tiny strip of what didn't pick up from the slice. So we're going to get rid of that by holding down, selecting the square, and then selecting the teeth. And we're going to slice that. And then all you need to do is click on those things and click delete. And those will go away. So now we have our smile in red, the lips in red, and the teeth in white. I think that's going to look super cute. So next I cut the red lips and the white teeth out of heat transfer vinyl, and then went ahead and weeded that out. A couple of things to remember when you're cutting vinyl, heat transfer vinyl, is to be sure to set your machine on iron-on vinyl. That's what I set mine on. Be sure to select mirror on before you cut, and make sure to place your vinyl shiny side down on the mat. I can't tell you how many times I've messed this up just over the course of doing things, but just a couple of tips that may help you and save you a little bit of vinyl along the way, along that process. I layered the teeth and the smile on top of each other because I'm going to slice these in half so that I can line them up with the seam allowance so that I'm not going to have vinyl overlapped underneath the seam allowance when I stitch this together. So I'm going to separate them back apart because I wouldn't be able to heat press these like this. So I'm going to just go ahead and separate them back. and get ready to press. I made a tiny dot just to kind of estimate about what the seam allowance would be so that I could place. I figured I'd start with the lips first, and I'm going to line those up. I'm working on the outside, which would be the exterior that you would see of the fabric. So I'm going to line up the 2 pieces of the lips so that I can heat press those onto. You can iron them as well. I bought an inexpensive heat press last year on Amazon. It's a Fancier Studio. It was just something that I thought would be a great addition. So now that I've ironed the lips on, I'm going to go ahead and remove the transfer tape so that I can start layering the teeth in. I'm going to line those up just as best as possible and get ready to press those as well. Now that I've ironed the teeth on, I'm going to remove that transfer plastic, and I'm going to start lining up to sew these together. I want to make sure that I'm lining up the smile, the parts of the lips more than anything, which with this light color fabric, you can see through it. So it's really easy to line it up. I suppose if you had a darker fabric, it might be a little more tedious, but I'm just going to check from both sides to make sure that it's lined up. I lined up the liner together as well, pinned that together to get ready to sew. And so started out by sewing the exterior of the fabric, right sides together. And I actually think that came out really well. Everything seems to be lined up pretty well. So now I'm going to start stitching the liner together. Same thing, right sides together. I found the assembly instructions to be a little bit unclear, the ones that came with the pattern. But what I did was I just pinned it right sides together so that I could sew along the top edge of the mask and then along the bottom edge of the mask, leaving the sides that would be closest to the ears open so that we could insert elastic into that. So the next step is going to be to just turn that to where that you're seeing the exteriors of the project. I decided to run a little top stitch along the bottom, both the bottom and the top, just to make it a little bit neater and so that it would really lie flat. Next, I'm going to fold over the ends to make a little pocket to run the elastic through on each side. I decided the pattern actually called for strings to tie, and I just thought it would be a whole lot easier to put on and take off if it was just elastics on the ears. So I used roughly 7.5 inches of elastic, 7.5 inch elastic piece for each side. And then I pushed those through. You could probably size that, I guess, depending upon how snug or loose you want that. So I pushed that through with a safety pin through the pocket and then stitched the ends of the elastic together on each side. And there it is. I think it came out super cute. Just a whole lot more fun than just wearing something plain and boring. And took it on my first outing to a grocery shop and got a bunch of compliments on it. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video. And if you did, please give me a thumbs up and share it with a friend. And if you're a new visitor to my channel, please consider subscribing. In the descriptions below, you'll find a list of products and materials used for this project.